He may even identify himself with it and believe that he is what he appears to be.
Welcome to the NCE Study Guide. I created this study guide using ChatGPT and Notebook LM. So think of these modules as AI-powered audio flashcards. Each one of these 20 modules contains 10 mock questions, representing the kind of questions that you might encounter on the National Counseling exam. I created this primarily for myself, and I decided to make these available to anyone else who might benefit from this kind of study aid. But please note, while I have done my best to ensure that these modules align with NCE content, I encourage you to cross-reference them with trusted study guides and resources for the most accurate preparation. These modules are not affiliated with or endorsed by the NBCC or any official licensing board. So, with no further ado, here are your AI study buddies from Notebook LM. Enjoy.
All right, future counselors, you ready to dive into Module 9 of our NCE prep?
Let's do it. Module 9.
Module 9, buckle up. It's a good one. We are going to make this knowledge stick, kind of like, audio flashcards.
Ooh, I like that. Audio flashcards.
Yeah, and you know what's even cooler?
What's that?
We're doing it with a little help from AI. Shout out to Notebook LM for giving us that extra edge in prepping for these tricky NCE questions.
It's amazing how AI can help us learn and grow. AI is changing everything.
I know. Okay, we got 10 practice questions coming your way. Think counseling theories, techniques, the whole shebang.
Oh, and get ready for some juicy concepts. We're talking about everything from client-centered therapy to, wait for it, the Oedipus complex.
Ooh, Freudian slip there. Just kidding. But seriously, get ready to think differently about therapy after this deep dive. Okay, question number 1. It's all about client-centered therapy.
I love client-centered therapy. Carl Rogers was a genius.
He was. Question 81. Which of the following is a key characteristic of client-centered therapy?
Okay, let's hear those options.
A. Emphasis on exploring unconscious conflicts.
Okay.
B. Focus on behavior modification.
Right.
C. Creating a non-judgmental therapeutic environment.
Okay.
D. Use of structured techniques to guide the session.
This is a good one.
It is a good one. Okay, let's start with A. Emphasis on exploring unconscious conflicts. How does that relate to client-centered therapy?
Well, exploring the unconscious is more of a psychodynamic thing, right? You know, like Freud and all that.
Yeah, digging into the past.
Exactly. Client-centered therapy is more about the here and now, the client's subjective experience.
So not so much about digging up childhood traumas.
Not really. It's more about creating a safe space for the client to explore their feelings and thoughts in the present.
Okay, so that brings us to B. Focus on behavior modification. Where does that fit in?
Behavior modification is all about changing behaviors through rewards and punishments, right? Think classical conditioning, operant conditioning, all those techniques.
Right, like training a dog.
Well, kind of. But in client-centered therapy, it's not about the therapist training the client. It's about empowering the client to make their own choices and changes.
Okay, so less about external control, more about internal motivation. What about C? Creating a non-judgmental therapeutic environment. How important is that in client-centered therapy?
Oh, it's huge. It's like the foundation of the whole approach.
Really? Why is that?
Because in order for a client to truly open up and explore themselves, they need to feel safe and accepted no matter what.
I can see that. Feeling judged would definitely shut down the whole process.
Exactly. So the therapist provides unconditional positive regard, empathy, active listening. It's all about creating that non-judgmental space.
Okay, so it's about providing a supportive and understanding environment. And what about D then? Use of structured techniques to guide the session.
This one is interesting because some therapies are very structured, right? You know, step 1, step 2, step 3.
Right, like CBT.
Yeah, CBT is a good example. But client-centered therapy is more fluid, more organic.
So it's less about following a manual and more about following the client's lead.
Exactly. The client sets the pace and the direction of the therapy.
Okay, so we've talked about all 4 options. Back to the original question. Which of the following is a key characteristic of client-centered therapy?
The answer is C, creating a non-judgmental therapeutic environment.
That makes sense. It's all about creating that safe and supportive space for the client to explore themselves.
Exactly. It's the foundation of client-centered therapy.
All right, question number 2 is coming up. This time we're diving into the world of reality therapy.
Ooh, reality therapy. Choice theory, right?
That's right. Question 82. What is the primary goal of reality therapy?
Hit me with those choices.
A. Helping clients become more self-aware.
Okay.
B, assisting clients in making responsible choices.
All right.
C, analyzing clients' past experiences.
Okay.
D, changing clients' automatic thoughts.
Some interesting options there.
Definitely. Okay, let's start with A. Helping clients become more self-aware. Is this the main goal of reality therapy?
Well, self-awareness is definitely important in any therapy, right?
Yeah, understanding yourself is key.
But reality therapy goes beyond just self-awareness. It's more about action, about helping clients make choices that lead to a better life.
Okay, so not just understanding yourself, but doing something about it.
Exactly.
So that brings us to B, assisting clients in making responsible choices. How does this fit into reality therapy?
It's the heart of reality therapy. Remember choice theory?
Yeah, the idea that we have control over our choices.
Exactly. Reality therapy helps clients understand that they have the power to make choices that lead to happiness and fulfillment.
So it's about empowering clients to take ownership of their lives.
Absolutely.
What about C, analyzing clients' past experiences? How important is the past in reality therapy?
Well, the past is part of who we are, but reality therapy focuses more on the present.
So it's not about dwelling on past traumas.
Not really. It's more about focusing on what the client can do now to create a better future.
So it's about moving forward. What about D, changing clients' automatic thoughts? Where does that fit in?
That's more of a cognitive therapy approach, like CBT. Reality therapy focuses more on actions and choices, not just thoughts.
Okay, so it's about what you do, not just what you think.
Exactly.
All right, time to answer the question. What is the primary goal of reality therapy?
The answer is B, assisting clients in making responsible choices.
That makes sense. Empowering clients to take control of their lives.
Exactly. It's all about making choices that align with our needs and values.
All right, moving right along to question 83. We're going to talk about prevention.
Prevention, such an important concept in mental health.
Absolutely. Question 83. Which of the following is an example of tertiary prevention?
Okay, let's hear those options.
A, screening for early signs of depression.
Okay.
B, providing relapse prevention programs for substance use disorders.
All right.
C, educating the public about mental health.
Got it.
D, offering stress reduction workshops.
Okay, lots to unpack here.
I know, right? There's so many different levels of prevention. Okay, let's start with A, screening for early signs of depression. What kind of prevention is that?
That would be secondary prevention.
Secondary prevention. Okay. What does that mean exactly?
It means catching a problem early on before it becomes a full-blown disorder.
So it's like early intervention.
Exactly. Think of it like screenings for cancer or other health issues. Early detection is key.
Okay, so secondary prevention is about catching things early. What about B, providing relapse prevention programs for substance use disorders?
That's a classic example of tertiary prevention.
Tertiary prevention, got it. And what does that focus on?
Tertiary prevention is about helping people manage existing conditions to prevent things from getting worse.
So it's like helping people stay on track with their recovery.
Exactly. Relapse prevention programs provide support and strategies to help people maintain sobriety.
All right, so secondary is about early detection, and tertiary is about managing existing conditions. What about C, educating the public about mental health?
That falls under primary prevention.
Primary prevention. Okay, so what's the goal of primary prevention?
Primary prevention is about preventing problems before they even start.
So it's like building a foundation of good mental health for everyone.
Exactly. Educating the public about mental health reduces stigma and promotes early help seeking.
Makes sense. So primary prevention is all about being proactive. And what about option D, offering stress reduction workshops?
That's another great example of primary prevention.
Primary prevention again.
Okay.
Okay, so it's about giving people the tools to manage stress before it becomes a problem.
Exactly. Stress reduction techniques can help people cope with the challenges of life and prevent burnout.
All right, so we've got our 3 levels of prevention all sorted out. Now back to the question. Which of the following is an example of tertiary prevention?
The answer is B, providing relapse prevention programs for substance use disorders.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about managing an existing condition and preventing further problems. On to question 84. And this one's all about empathy, which is such a crucial skill for counselors.
Empathy is at the heart of what we do.
Absolutely. Question 84. What does the term empathy mean in the counseling context?
Are you ready for the options?
A, feeling sorry for the client.
Okay.
B, understanding the client's feelings and experiences from their perspective.
All right.
C, agreeing with the client's decisions.
Got it.
D, encouraging the client to explore their emotions.
Okay, this is an important one.
It is. Okay, let's start with A. Feeling sorry for the client. Is that really empathy?
I think empathy is more than just feeling pity.
Right, because pity can sometimes feel condescending.
Exactly. Empathy is about really trying to understand the client's experience, to see the world through their eyes.
So it's about putting yourself in their shoes, even if their situation is difficult.
Exactly. It's about connecting with their emotions on a deeper level.
That makes sense. So what about option B then? Understanding the client's feelings and experiences from their perspective.
That's the essence of empathy. It's about getting into their world, their frame of reference, their unique way of seeing things.
Okay, so it's about understanding, not just feeling sorry for them. What about C? Agreeing with the client's decisions.
Empathy doesn't require agreement. You can understand someone's experience without condoning their choices.
Right, because sometimes people make decisions that aren't in their best interest.
Exactly. And it's our job as counselors to help them explore those decisions and the consequences, but not to judge them for it.
Okay, so empathy is about understanding, not necessarily approving. What about D? Encouraging the client to explore their emotions.
That's an important part of therapy, but it's not the definition of empathy itself.
So empathy is a prerequisite for emotional exploration.
You could say that. Without empathy, the client won't feel safe enough to truly open up and explore their feelings.
Okay, so empathy creates that safe space for deeper work. All right, let's go back to the question. What does the term empathy mean in the counseling context?
The answer is B, understanding the client's feelings and experiences from their perspective.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Empathy is all about understanding and connecting with the client's world.
Exactly. It's the foundation of a strong therapeutic relationship.
All right, we're halfway through our questions for today. Ready for question 85?
Hit me with it.
Okay, this one involves a little trip back in time to Freud's theory of psychosexual development.
Oh, Freud. Always an interesting topic.
He was a pioneer, that's for sure. Question 85. In Freud's theory of psychosexual development, which stage is associated with the development of the Oedipus complex?
Okay, let's hear those stages.
A, oral stage.
Okay.
B, anal stage.
Right.
C, phallic stage.
Got it.
D, genital stage.
All right, Freud's stages of development.
Exactly. Okay, let's refresh our memories on these stages. First up, the oral stage. What's that all about?
The oral stage is all about the mouth, right? Babies putting everything in their mouths, exploring the world through oral sensations.
Right, that makes sense. They learn about the world through their mouths. Okay, what about the anal stage?
The anal stage is all about control, potty training, all that fun stuff.
Yes, the joys of potty training. And what does Freud say is going on psychologically during this stage?
Well, Freud believed that this is when children start to develop a sense of control over their bodies and their impulses.
Okay, so it's about learning to control those urges. On to option C, the phallic stage. This is where things get a little more interesting.
This is the stage where the Oedipus complex comes in, right?
The Oedipus complex. Remind us what that is all about.
Well, according to Freud, boys in this stage develop unconscious sexual desires for their mothers and see their fathers as rivals.
Wow, that's a lot for a little kid to process. And what about girls during this stage?
Freud had a theory for that too, called the Electra complex, but it's not as well known.
Okay, so lots of unconscious drama going on during the phallic stage. And finally, the genital stage.
Yeah.
What happens there?
The genital stage is all about mature sexuality, developing healthy relationships, and channeling sexual energy in appropriate ways.
So it's about moving beyond those childhood conflicts and forming healthy adult attachments. Okay, lots to unpack there with Freud's stages of development. But to answer the question, in Freud's theory of psychosexual development, which stage is associated with the development of the Oedipus complex?
The answer is C, phallic stage.
Makes sense. It's during that stage that all those unconscious conflicts are supposed to play out.
Exactly. Freud's theories are definitely thought-provoking, even if some of them are a bit controversial these days.
Absolutely. All right, we're on a roll. 2 more questions to go in this first part of our deep dive. You ready to jump into question 86?
Bring it on.
Okay, this one is all about cognitive therapy. Thoughts, beliefs, and how they impact our feelings and behaviors.
One of the most popular approaches these days, right?
Absolutely. Question 86. What is the primary goal of cognitive therapy?
Okay, let's hear the choices.
A, exploring unconscious conflicts. B, challenging and restructuring distorted thoughts.
Okay.
C, building a strong therapeutic alliance.
Got it.
D, reducing physiological symptoms of anxiety.
Interesting options.
I know. Okay, let's start with A, Exploring unconscious conflicts.
Sounds familiar. Isn't that more of a psychodynamic thing again?
Yeah, it is. Cognitive therapy focuses on what's happening in the client's mind right now.
So it's about those conscious thoughts and beliefs.
Exactly. Not so much about digging up childhood memories. What about B, challenging and restructuring distorted thoughts?
Now that's classic cognitive therapy. It's all about identifying those unhelpful thought patterns and helping the client reframe them.
So it's about changing the way we think.
Exactly. Cognitive therapy is based on the idea that our thoughts influence our feelings and behaviors. So if we can change our thoughts, we can change our experience.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What about option C, building a strong therapeutic alliance?
The therapeutic alliance is important in any therapy, right?
Absolutely, that connection between the therapist and the client.
But it's not the primary goal of cognitive therapy specifically. Cognitive therapy has a very specific focus on those thought patterns.
Okay, so the alliance is the foundation, but the focus is on the thoughts. What about D, reducing physiological symptoms of anxiety?
Well, anxiety often has a physical component, right? Increased heart rate, sweating, all that.
Right, those physical symptoms can be really uncomfortable.
They can. And while cognitive therapy can help reduce those symptoms, it does it by addressing the underlying thoughts and beliefs that contribute to anxiety.
So it's about addressing the root of the problem, not just the symptoms. Makes sense. Okay, back to the question. What is the primary goal of cognitive therapy?
The answer is B, challenging and restructuring distorted thoughts.
Okay, that's what cognitive therapy is all about, changing the way we think in order to change the way we feel and behave.
Exactly. It's about empowering clients to become aware of their thoughts and to challenge those that are unhelpful or untrue.
All right, we're on a roll. 2 more questions to go in part 1 of our 3-part deep dive into Module 9. Ready to jump into question 87?
Absolutely. Let's keep going.
This one delves into family counseling dynamics. All those complex relationships within a family system.
Families can be fascinating and challenging to work with.
Absolutely. Question 87. In family counseling, what term refers to the emotional distance or lack of connection between family members?
Okay, let's hear those terms.
A, enmeshment.
Okay.
B, emotional cutoff.
All right.
C, differentiation.
Got it.
D, triangulation.
Some interesting family dynamics here.
Definitely. Okay, let's start with A, enmeshment. What does that mean in the context of family dynamics?
Enmeshment is about blurry boundaries, where family members are too intertwined, almost like they've lost their individual identities.
So it's like everyone is too involved in each other's lives.
Exactly. It can be very suffocating for individuals within the family.
Okay, so not really the distance we're looking for in this question. What about B, emotional cutoff?
That sounds more like it. Emotional cutoff is when family members create distance, often to avoid conflict or painful emotions.
So it's like a defense mechanism.
You could say that. It's a way of coping with difficult family dynamics, but it can also lead to isolation and loneliness.
So it's a way of protecting yourself, but it comes at a cost. How about option C, differentiation?
Differentiation is a good thing. It's about being able to be your own person within the family system, to have your own thoughts, feelings, and values.
So it's about having healthy boundaries.
Exactly. And being able to express yourself without fear of rejection or disapproval.
That makes sense. So differentiation is about individuality, not necessarily distance. And lastly, triangulation.
Triangulation. That's when two people in a conflict bring in a third person, often to take sides.
So it's like creating a triangle of conflict.
Exactly. It can be very destabilizing for families because it prevents direct communication between the two people who are actually in conflict.
Okay, lots of complex family dynamics going on here. But let's get back to the question. In family counseling, what term refers to the emotional distance or lack of connection between family members?
The answer is B, emotional cutoff.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about creating that distance to protect yourself from difficult emotions.
Exactly. It's a common pattern in families, but it can be addressed and resolved through therapy.
All right, on to our final question for part 1 of our deep dive. Ready?
Bring it on. Let's wrap this up.
This one is all about the therapeutic alliance. That special bond between therapist and client.
The foundation of any good therapy.
Exactly. Question 88. Which of the following is a key component of the therapeutic alliance?
Okay, I'm ready for the options.
A, exploring past traumas.
All right.
B, establishing a collaborative relationship.
Okay.
C, using structured interventions.
Got it.
D, challenging the client's behaviors.
Okay, lots of important aspects of therapy here.
There are. Okay, let's start with A, exploring past traumas. Is this a key part of the therapeutic alliance itself?
Exploring past traumas can be important in therapy, but it's not the alliance itself. The alliance is about the relationship, the connection between the therapist and the client.
Okay, so it's not about the content of the therapy, but about the quality of the relationship.
Exactly.
What about B, establishing a collaborative relationship?
That's the heart of the therapeutic alliance. It's about working together as a team towards the client's goals.
So it's a partnership, not a hierarchy.
Exactly. The client is the expert on their own life, and the therapist is there to guide and support them.
I like that. What about C? Using structured interventions, are those essential to the alliance?
Structured interventions can be helpful, but they're not what defines the alliance. The alliance is about the human connection, the trust, the mutual respect.
So it's about the relationship, not the techniques.
Exactly. The alliance is what makes those interventions effective.
And lastly, D, challenging the client's behaviors. Isn't that part of a therapist's job sometimes?
Absolutely. But challenges need to be done in a way that's respectful and supportive.
So it's about challenging with care and empathy.
Exactly. The alliance provides the safety and trust needed for the client to be open to those challenges.
Okay, so the alliance is about creating that safe space for growth.
Okay.
Yeah. Back to the question. Which of the following is a key component of the therapeutic alliance?
The answer is B, establishing a collaborative relationship.
Makes sense. It's all about that strong connection and partnership between the therapist and client.
That's what makes therapy work, no matter what the specific approach is.
That's a wrap for part 1 of our deep dive into Module 9. We explored some fundamental concepts that will be crucial for your NCE success, from client-centered therapy and reality therapy to the different levels of prevention and the importance of the therapeutic alliance. We've covered a lot of ground.
Absolutely. And we've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore as we continue our journey through these essential counseling theories and techniques.
But don't worry, we'll be back with part 2 soon to tackle the next set of questions. Until then, keep those study sessions going and keep those brains buzzing with all this fascinating knowledge.
We'll see you soon. Welcome back to our deep dive into Module 9. I hope you're feeling refreshed and ready to tackle some more NCE practice questions.
Ready to go? Part 1 was awesome. So many interesting theories, right?
I know. It's amazing how many different approaches there are to counseling.
It is.
Ah.
Okay, question 89 is up next, and this one focuses on existential therapy, which is kind of a unique approach.
Ooh, existential therapy. That one always gets me thinking.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's all about those big life questions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, question 89. What is the primary focus of existential therapy?
All right, let's see what we've got.
A, addressing meaning and purpose in life.
Okay.
B, changing irrational beliefs.
All right.
C, exploring early childhood experiences.
Got it.
D, building coping strategies.
Some deep stuff here.
Definitely. Okay, let's start with A, addressing meaning and purpose in life.
Yeah.
How does this fit into existential therapy?
Well, that's pretty much the heart of existential therapy, right? It's all about helping clients find meaning in a world that can often feel meaningless.
So it's about those big questions like, what's the point of it all?
Exactly. Questions about existence, freedom, responsibility, death, all those things that can keep us up at night.
Okay, so it's not about quick fixes or simple solutions. It's about exploring those deeper existential concerns.
Right. It's about helping clients come to terms with the realities of existence and find their own unique path.
That makes a lot of sense. What about B, changing irrational beliefs? Does that play a role in existential therapy?
Not really. That's more of a cognitive therapy focus, like what we talked about with CBT and REBT.
Okay, so it's not about disputing those irrational thoughts.
Not in the same way. Existential therapy is more about exploring the broader context of those thoughts, the underlying fears and anxieties.
Okay, so it's a different kind of exploration. What about option C, exploring early childhood experiences?
While early experiences can shape us, existential therapy isn't really about digging into the past.
So it's not about uncovering repressed memories or childhood traumas.
Not really. It's more about focusing on the present moment and the choices we make in the here and now.
Okay, so it's about taking responsibility for our lives, regardless of our past. What about option D, building coping strategies? Does existential therapy focus on that?
Well, coping strategies can be helpful, but they're not the main focus of existential therapy.
So it's not about giving clients a toolbox of coping skills.
Not exactly. It's more about helping them confront those existential dilemmas head on and find meaning in spite of them.
Okay, so it's about facing those challenges, not just avoiding them. But let's go back to the question. What is the primary focus of existential therapy?
The answer is A, addressing meaning and purpose in life.
Makes sense. It's all about helping clients find meaning in a world that can sometimes feel absurd or overwhelming.
Exactly. Existential therapy is about empowering individuals to make choices that are authentic and meaningful to them.
Okay, that was a good one. We're down to our final question for this deep dive. Ready to finish strong.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
This one is about assessment techniques, specifically a type of technique that's designed to tap into the unconscious mind.
Ooh, the unconscious mind. Always a fascinating area.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Question 90. Which of the following is considered a projective technique?
All right, hit me with those options.
A. Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI.
Okay.
B. Rorschach Inkblot Test.
All right.
C. Beck Anxiety Inventory, BAI.
Got it.
D. Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, MMPI.
Some classic assessments here.
I know, right? We encounter these names all the time in our studies. Okay, let's start with option A. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. What kind of assessment is this?
The MBTI is a personality assessment, often used in career counseling or personal development, but it's not a projective technique.
Okay, so what makes it different from a projective technique?
Projective techniques use ambiguous stimuli, like ink blots or pictures, to elicit responses that can reveal unconscious thoughts and feelings. The MBTI is more straightforward. People answer questions about themselves directly.
Okay, so it's about how the information is gathered, the type of questions being asked. What about option B, the Rorschach Inkblot Test? Those ink blots are always so intriguing.
The Rorschach. That's definitely a projective technique. The idea is that by interpreting those ambiguous ink blots, people project their own unconscious thoughts and feelings onto them.
So it's like a window into the unconscious mind.
You could say that. The Rorschach is a very complex instrument, and it takes a lot of training to interpret the results properly.
Okay, so it's not just about what people see in the ink blots. It's about how they interpret them, the patterns they see, the stories they tell. What about option C, the Beck Anxiety Inventory?
The BAI is a structured questionnaire designed to measure the severity of anxiety symptoms.
So it's a more direct measure of anxiety.
Exactly. People answer questions about their anxiety symptoms, and the scores are used to assess the level of anxiety.
Okay, so it's a very specific and objective measure, not a projective technique. And finally, option D, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. That's a mouthful.
I know, right? The MMPI is a comprehensive personality assessment, often used to identify psychopathology.
So it's about assessing for mental health disorders.
Exactly. It's a very long test, with hundreds of true-false questions. It's not a projective technique, but it can provide a lot of valuable information about a person's personality and emotional functioning.
Okay, so we have 2 objective measures and 2 projective techniques. Now, to answer the question, which of the following is considered a projective technique?
The answer is B, the Rorschach Inkblot Test.
Okay, that makes sense. It's all about those ambiguous ink blots and how people interpret them. It's fascinating how much information can be gleaned from those interpretations.
It is. Projective techniques can be really valuable tools for understanding the unconscious mind.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. What are your thoughts?
It's been a great discussion. We explored some complex and thought-provoking concepts, from existential therapy and its focus on meaning and purpose, to the intriguing world of projective techniques. And it's important to remember that this deep dive is just one piece of the puzzle. As you continue your NCE prep, you'll layer on even more knowledge and insights.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you're not alone on this journey. We're here to guide you through each module and make those complex concepts feel a little bit more manageable. We'll be back soon with another deep dive to tackle the next module together.
Until then, keep those brains buzzing with all this new knowledge, and happy studying, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
1, 2, 3.
Nice to be in orbit.